Hello everyone. Good morning. Welcome back to our workshops. Today we have Mr. Rajeev sir with us. He's been working in the advertisement industry for over 25 years, and he's also a musician. And he's worked with all the big names in Bollywood that you can think of, Rajit Barot sir and Shankar sir, to name a few. And he has started his company called BrandMusiq now, and it's one of the I think it's the only company in India right now which specializes on music logo, which basically creates sonic branding, so unique uh, sound a unique sound to the brand. So we usually see logos, but we also hear something along with the logo, visual along with the visuals. So without much further ado, I'll let Sir take over. Hello, Sir. Thank you for coming today, and you can begin.
Okay, thank you so much. Uh, Hi, everybody. Delighted to share our journey in the whole world of sonic branding. It's a fairly new field, but you'd be surprised to know that in 2021, BrandMusiq, our company, is 10 years old. We've been around for 10 years. So we've virtually been creating the market, developing the market in India and in Asia and across the globe. So this is really where we started off all those years ago, where essentially the provocation was, if the whole world were blind, how would your brand be recognized, right? So it's an interesting question to think about. But it really, we asked this question just to underline the power of sound, right? And force brands and marketers to start thinking about how important it is to look at music and sound, not just as an jingle or something that they do in a TV ad, but more importantly, to look at it across as an identity that brands can own, right? Now, these words are becoming quite prophetic because today you will find there are so many mediums emerging which are audio only mediums, right? Just if you look at Alexa and if you look at the entire voice activated speaker system, there's no possibility of visual branding there, right? So, how does a brand that operates on that system get its identity across? Only through sonic, right? Through audio. This is just one example. And through the course of the next hour, I'll show you and explain to you the process of sonic branding, how we look at sonic branding. And I'll also share with you an example that will give you an idea of, how it can be used once a brand has a particular sonic asset, right? So let's begin with a little bit of music, right? After all, this is about branding and music. But before we come to that, a little word about myself. My name is Rajeev Raja, and I call myself founder and soundsmith of BrandMusiq. So what we do at BrandMusiq essentially is we create the unique sound of a brand, right? And how did we start this journey? So little more than 10 years ago, I was national creative director at DDB Mudra. Okay. I've always been a musician all my life, even before I got into advertising. So I spent 25 odd years in advertising. And but I've also been a musician, a flautist, a jazz and fusion flautist, actually. I play the Western flute. And I think I was lucky and blessed in the sense that my passion for music never left me, even though I had very, very long hours in advertising. And I kept my music going. And as Mohit said, I played with so many musicians over the years, whether it's Shankar or Ehsan Loy or Louis Banks, etc., etc. I also composed music for a Bollywood film called Bus UE. You can check it out. It's still there somewhere on the internet. So these two parallel worlds always coincided for me, and I was lucky that I never let go of my music really, and kept it going while in advertising. But even in advertising, I found a way to bring music into it. So a lot of the ads that I had created, in fact, I'd done a campaign for Virgin Mobile, and in those films there was a clear sonic identity that we had worked. Those are early days. I hadn't really thought of getting into this field, but then the next big breakthrough I remember was when I was national creative director at DDB, and we created a launch for Volkswagen Vento, where we actually put a chip, an audio chip, in the Times of India, right? And it became famously known as the talking newspaper ad. So when you opened the newspaper, the chip was photosensitive and it released audio, and it spoke about the Volkswagen Vento. It was pasted on the Volkswagen Vento ad, right? So it was like a breakthrough. Every Times of India newspaper across India had this chip put in. You can imagine how many lakhs of newspapers, and in one day it had tremendous impact. So audio was always a part of my life, and music always part of my life. But branding also was a big part of my life. So dealing with Indian global brands, understanding brands, trying to analyze what is a brand, right? What does a brand mean to people, etc., etc. So bringing these two worlds together is where the company started 10 years ago, called BrandMusiq, right? So now let's move on to a very interesting experience that I'm going to take all of you all through. So what I want you to do is, I'm going to play a bit of music on my flute, okay? This is my concert flute, and I'm going to play a piece of music. I want you all to just close your eyes and go where the music takes you. You'll probably see some imagery, you may feel some emotions, it may trigger some memories, but we can come back and have a quick talk about what you saw and felt. Now, for the feedback, you can either just unmute yourself and say a word or two about if you saw any imagery, or what emotion did you feel, or you can just put it up on the chat box. And Mohit, if you would just read it out for me, we can do that way also, right?
Sure.
So, okay, great. So, all of y'all, happy Saturday morning. Close your eyes. I'm going to play a short piece on my flute. Okay, eyes closed, everybody, no cheating. Okay, you can open your eyes. So how do you want to do it? Do you want to just put it up in the chat box, or you can just unmute and just say a few words about what you saw and felt? Go for it.
I did feel that, yeah, exactly. Sunrise with smile.
Sunrise and smile. Okay, nice. Very nice. Very nice.
It was like a good morning music.
Good morning music.
Good morning music.
Lovely, lovely. Okay.
Nice sound and
Sorry, I think you're muted.
yeah. Go on, guys. Go on. Yeah.
I can't hear anything.
There's a comment. I saw the image of a forest with birds chirping and waterfall nearby.
Wow, lovely. Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Even I felt like it felt like a. So for example, it's a video reel of a morning coffee or Nescafe sunrise or something like that. I felt the vibe matching to it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. This was, just to give you an example of the power of sound, right? And how sound can actually take you places without you actually seeing any, without any visuals put in front of you. It was just me playing the flute, right? And most of y'all must have felt a very similar kind of feeling, right? Morning, sunrise, greenery, waterfalls. A lot of people say they go back to the backwaters in Kerala or tea gardens, or somebody mentioned coffee. And this is amazing. Wherever in the world I played this piece of music, everybody gets a similar imagery, right? So what that imagery and emotion. So what that proves to us is that there is a science to sound. And the reason everybody is feeling like this is not by accident, it's by design. Okay. So this particular scale that I've used, any musicians here will probably recognize it, especially if you're from the South. This is a rag called Hamsadvani, which uses only 5 notes in the scale. So in the Western system, it's called a pentatonic scale, right? This is a major pentatonic scale, penta as in 5. And I'll just play these 5 notes for you, right? So it's just these 5 notes. This is a composition of mine called Peace. And, this combination of 5 notes, it's very melodic. The intervals between the notes will create this kind of feeling in anybody who listens to it, right? So really, we know, therefore, that certain scales, certain harmonies, certain rhythms will actually create different kinds of emotions. And that's really the beginning of our journey as a sonic branding agency. It was important to understand that, to understand the science of sound. Now, if I were to take the first 3 notes of this rag or scale, and I change only the third note, you'll get a different feeling, right? When anybody hears this original piece, it's impossible. I can guarantee that you cannot see night. It's impossible. You would have seen day and you'll probably see closer to sunrise, right? I can guarantee that. Now, let's take the first 3 notes of the original scale. And now I change only the third note, the first 2 notes remaining the same. Did you feel a sense of melancholy?
Like
Did you feel
this
little sadness? Yeah, yeah. So, the change of 1 note, and suddenly you moved from sunrise to sunset, right?
Yes.
And you moved from like happiness to a feeling of sadness.
Yeah.
Now, in technical terms, is a very simple shift from major to minor, right? So the major scale, we know, is generally a happy scale, right? Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. It's a happy scale. But the minor scale actually brings in what we call a flatted third or a flatted seventh note. So instead of ta ra ra ta ra ra, and that immediately changes the flavor. So this is really where our journey began, where we said, there is a science to sound, and let's try and understand the science of sound. And once we understand the science of sound, how do we understand the DNA of a brand, right? We understand what that brands are like human beings, that every brand is different because of its, origin, the culture that it came from, the culture that it operates in, the competition, etc. And just as all of us human beings here have our own unique DNA, so also we say that brands have a unique DNA, right? And it is our job as sonic branding creators, designers, to actually find the DNA of that brand. And once we find it, we actually then create the DNA of its sound. We create its sonic DNA, right? So clear up to now? What we are saying is that music is very powerful, that it can affect the emotions, but there is a science to the music, and certain scales, certain rhythms, certain harmonies create a clear set of emotions that can be, identified in advance. So if you know that if you create something with this kind of harmonic or melodic pattern, that's the kind of emotion that you will evoke, right? The second is, we said we need to understand deeper about what a brand is. Of course, that's the starting point, where we first understand what the brand is, its DNA, what kind of personality it has, what kind of emotions the brand wants to evoke. And then we link it to fields of sound or compositions that evoke that personality and those emotions. Okay. So this is what we do at BrandMusiq. We design and manage the sonic identity of a brand. So what is designing the sound? And we will show you our process, and we'll tell you how we create the sound of a brand. But what about managing? What is managing all about? So once you create your sonic identity in today's day and age, it's not enough to just have a mogo, as we call it, or musical logo, right? How do you amplify it? How do you take it across all the various media that today exists, the digital media? How do you take it across apps? How do you take it across digital content? How do you take it on
Supporting
ground?
video.
Sorry?
With the supporting video.
Yeah, with a supporting, it need not just be video, it can be on an app, for example, right? It can be heard on Alexa or voice activated systems.
Yes.
So there are so many other, media apertures opening up because of the digital explosion. So which is why sound is starting to become such an important part. And we manage that also for brands, create an entire strategy, a creative strategy of how to actually take this forward. And we'll show you, when I show you the example, you'll be able to see that. Now, we have spoken of the changing media, but let's talk about the changing consumer. And you guys are perfect examples of the changing consumer, right? When was the last time any of y'all actually watched a big television in your house, right? I'm sure, unless it's a big event like the Euro football or World Cup cricket, you may not watch TV as much as you used to earlier days.
Correct.
You're more on your phone, you're on your laptop, you're on your computer, etc., etc. So your attention spans also getting lesser, right? How many times have you gone on Facebook or YouTube and cursed when that ad comes across and interrupts your flow of watching the content, right? So basically, therefore, the whole world is changing, and brands have to find a way to communicate in a subconscious way also, without being intrusive. Actually, brand intrusion is today one of the things that most consumers are resisting and not liking, right? So how does a brand make its presence felt in all our lives without really intruding? And that can happen with a sonic identity, right? It can just be there subtly in the background of any content that is being consumed. without necessarily being overt. So that is another example of the changing media and changing consumer, and why a sonic brand identity is very important for brands. Now, you know, you know that every brand has a logo, every brand has a set of colors, a certain font style that it is, created in. Now, how is this visual identity created? There are specialist visual identity agencies which go into the brand, understand, as I said, the DNA of the brand, etc. And then they will say, hey, this logo represents the summation or essence of your brand. And your brand stands for these values or these emotions, and therefore these colors should be used. And the font style also reflects the personality of your brand. Is it a fun brand, in which case the font style is very, sort of calligraphic? Or is it a serious brand? Is it like a banking brand? So we can't have that calligraphic kind of font style, right? So we know that every element of the visual design actually conveys a certain message. So while brands therefore take a lot of pains in creating their visual identity, they go to specialist visual identity agencies, then they create a visual identity manual. So as you all get out into the world and you get out into design agencies, you get out into advertising agencies, etc., you will start seeing these design manuals for every brand that you're working on, visual identity manuals, right? But with sound, this hasn't been the case. Music has been used more tactically. Arey, ek jingle banao yaar, kind of attitude amongst marketers. But today, everybody's waking up to the possibilities of sonic brand. So we've created a term we call ear points. Now, just as a brand is visually consistent across touch points, we say in this day and age, you have to be sonically consistent across ear points, right? So what are ear points? Ear points are anywhere your brand can be heard. Now, as I explained earlier, it's not just on the television. It's not just accompanying visual content. Your brand can be heard today of an app. It can be heard as a background music for certain digital content where there's no branding only or logo. There is no logo. You can have your music identity there accompanying it. There's so many other ear points, and ear points are anywhere your brand can be heard. Okay, and we do a sonic audit of different categories have different ear points. So when we worked on HDFC Bank, for example, the ATM was a ear point, and we suggested that the mogo or musical logo that we created for them should play in the ATM every time the debit card goes in and the credit card goes in. I don't know how many of you all have had that experience who are HDFC Bank users, but it's amazing. They've got, I think, 10 to 15,000 ATMs across the country. And can you imagine how many times that ATM is used? So the Mogo is heard about 100 times a day across 15,000 ATMs, right? So that's the power of sonic branding, where you can actually. Now we also, when we recommended the ATMs, we didn't say, just put it there as a branding device. No, we said put it there so it provides some value to the customer. So, the insight about going to an ATM is that you go in and there's a queue behind you and you put your debit card in, and after that, you're not sure if your transaction is over, right? So you're always scared. The debit card has come out, but you're still looking at the screen to see, arey, ye ho gaya kya? Will the next fellow come in and steal all my money? This is the basic anxiety that all of us feel when we go to the ATM. So we understood this, and what we told HDFC Bank is, once the transaction is over, right, let the Mogo play so that every consumer knows, okay, it's safe to leave. Now, this starts over time becoming a subconscious, behavior pattern where you just hear it and you say, cha, safe ho gaya, I can go, So these are the ways that you can create value out of your sonic identity, and not just creating something that, this is HDFC Bank, I recognize it. No, we need to go beyond recognition. We need to provide customer experience. We need to provide customer utility, all of that using your sonic identity. And there are a lot of things that you could do with it. And we'll tell you about something we did for Zomato also, which was very interesting. So your points, right? Where your brand can be heard. Once you map that, then you know how to actually amplify the sonic identity that you have created. Now we've created a term we call MOGO. And I say MOGO is the new logo. So why do we say this? Because we believe that a MOGO or a musical logo is the shortest distance between a brand and a consumer's heart, right? Because we know music is linked to memory structures in our brain. So why is it that when you hear a particular opening bars of a particular piece of music that you love, why does your mind go back to maybe another time when you were taking a holiday with your friends and you heard this piece of music, right? Or it goes back to the days when you were a kid and running around in your ancestral home with your grandparents and having a great time. So music has the ability to trigger these memories. And if we use the MOGO well, then the memories being triggered could be brand memories, right? Lovely times you've had with the brand that you can actually trigger taste. You can trigger smells without anything being, brand taste, brand smells, because music has the power to do that, right? So, which is why there's a science behind the MOGO and how it works. So, over time, the MOGO should be a shorthand to unlock the brand world, right? So just as when you heard my flute, a whole world opened up for you, right? Nature, greenery, mountains, rivers, early morning. Now just imagine that's the power of a MOGO. So if you hear a MOGO over time associated with the brand and with imagery also associated with it, right? All the video content, all the activation ideas that the brand does, then the MOGO suddenly unlocks all those experiences. And today, brand experience is what most top brands in the world are looking to create, because the customers want to feel about the brand, not just know about the brand. And a MOGO helps you feel the brand, feel it, because only music can make you feel, right? A visual logo, you will recognize. A MOGO, you will emotionalize, right? So this is the difference. So we are not saying it's MOGO versus logo. No, we are saying logo and MOGO. So these two together will create a powerful impression of your brand. And more marketers are waking up to this. Sonic branding has taken off, especially in the last couple of years. So one of the things we realized is we needed to create a process, right? Now, music is very difficult for non-musicians to actually analyze. Everybody experiences music. We all love music. We can listen to music. But if you were a brand owner or a marketing head and you had to say, look, this is what my brand stands for, and therefore I would choose this kind of music, you'd find it a little difficult because, say, boss, I'm not a musician. I don't know, what music fits where, what is music, what kind of emotion does it create in me, etc., etc. So we created a very simple process. It's a three-stage process. The first stage is something we call brand discovery, where we try and understand the avatar of a brand. So if a brand were a human being, what kind of brand would it be? And for that, we use Carl Jung's archetypes. And, he says that 12 different kinds of archetypes. We prefer to call them avatars. What is your brand avatar? And once we answer this question, the next question is very important. What is your brand rasa? What is the emotion you want to evoke, right? As a brand. So are you a brand who is in the exploration category? Are you an explorer brand? Say like Land Rover, that you go out into the wild. So what emotion do you want to evoke? Do you want to evoke the emotion of adventure, of thrill, excitement, exhilaration? There is a sonic way to do that, right? So we mix and match the avatar and rasa, and we use our Indian Navarasas, which is Sringara, Hasya, Karuna, Rudra, etc., to actually get this combination, right? And now it's amazing. The next session, we actually create what we call sonic mapping, which is based on the avatar and rasa that we have identified for the brand. We create sketches of sound, right? Just to share and have a workshop session with clients and brand owners. And it's amazing, in this session, we get very rich feedback. You know, hey, the rock guitar, that's not part of my brand sound. That's too aggressive, right? Or that kind of sitar, yeah, I want that sitar because I'm an Indian brand. I want a sitar kind of sound. Or I want those big drums because I'm a very heroic brand, right? So then brand owners and clients are beginning to understand, okay, these are my brand personality traits and these are my brand emotions or rasas. And therefore, this kind of music fits, right? And how did we arrive at this? What we've done is we've also created our version of sonic avatars, right? So if you listen to Hollywood, if you're watching a Hollywood film, Bollywood, folk theater, anything, you will find that these avatars and rasas are actually communicated when characters come on screen. So if a hero came on screen, this is the kind of sound you'd hear. So you can imagine a hero, right? Now, the thing is that these sounds are already there in your consciousness. When you hear this, you close your eyes, you will say, "Arey, there's a hero coming in, he's won the war, and the whole town is celebrating his victory." Now, why do you get this feeling? Because these kind of instruments and this kind of, putting together of the rhythms, etc., create that kind of feeling. So big horns, big drums, etc. On the other hand, other side extreme, if you said, no, I'm a caregiver brand, J&J Baby, for example, right? Then this would be the starting point. You can imagine a mother with a baby in her arms, right? So like this, we have mapped all the avatars and rasas in terms of starting points of music. And then we brief our music directors. We have a panel of music directors. We brief them. And we actually analyze, the different rasas and avatars for that particular brand. And then we make this presentation, which is the workshop session. We get the feedback. And then finally, we create what we call the Mogo and the Mogoscape. So what is a Mogoscape? Brand has a sonic palette with a Mogoscape, right? So it's an entire field or framework of sound which we create, and in that there is a melody, there is in Indian terms, there is a mukda, there's an antara, you may come back to the mukda, etc. And so that becomes your defining sound of the brand, embedded within which is the Mogo. So we don't just begin by creating just one, sound like tanga tanga ta. No, we actually create the master composition, and within that, the Mogo is embedded, which is a natural refrain of a piece of music composition, right? Which reflects what the brand stands for as a whole. So this is the Mogoscape. Now, once we do this, we get into the year point audit, and we recommend how you could take it across different kinds of year points. Now, 2 years ago, we had an amazing experience where we created the global sonic identity for MasterCard, right? And MasterCard actually came to us, and within a few weeks, it was finalized. It was great. We were commissioned to create the global sonic identity of MasterCard across 190 countries. Now, this was an amazing challenge, but also an amazing opportunity for us. And happy to say it went off very well. And today, the sonic identity for MasterCard has become a case study, actually, in the world of global sonic identities. So, what were their combination? It was a magician and everyman kind of combination, because they were about priceless moments. But Aam Aadmi also, because of the credit card and debit card category. They had a sense of optimism, joy, and surprise in their rasas. And now you would see how it all came together with the Mogoscape. Okay. Obviously, this didn't come overnight. We went through the whole sonic mapping with them. We dealt directly with MasterCard New York, the global team, and we actually then created the sonic identity for MasterCard. So have a listen to the Mogoscape. I'll just play a little bit of it. Okay, that's it. It goes into another section, comes back, etc. But basically, you'll see how all these elements came together. Of course, starting with a very simple melody. But you can hear how we've introduced the magical elements, the sense of upbeat drums to create that sense of optimism, etc. Sense of surprise and wonder. Also, little tech elements, because it is a tech, at the end of it, a digital brand, so it had to cue the contemporary modern kind of feeling, but also a very simple melody that anybody across the world can hum. Now, this was where the Aam Aadmi element of the brand came in, right? The regular person element of the brand. So putting all this together, this was the Mogoscape. Now let's listen to the Mogo, which is 3 seconds. I'll play it again. That's the Mogo. Now, MasterCard also wanted a mini Mogo, because they are in the digital space, and all credit card acceptance sounds, once the payment has gone through, the confirmation sounds, etc., on those tiny POS machines, where you slide your card in or tap it, the sound would come that your payment had gone through. And the mini Mogo had to be 1.5 seconds, less than 1.5 seconds. And we had to create a special tone so that it stood out in those tiny speakers, right? So this was the mini Mogo tone that we created, which is like a notification alert, really. Play it again. Right. So that's the mini Mogo. Okay. Now, all these three elements, the Mogoscape, the Mogo, the mini Mogo, form your sonic identity system, the fundamental building blocks of your sonic identity system. Now, let's take a look at how all these elements came together in the television spot. Listen to the background track. you saw how the entire Mogoscape, Mogo and Mini Mogo that we had created were beautifully weaved in to the story, and how it ended also with just the logo and the Mogo coming together. Right?
That was awesome.
Thank you.
That's a really
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah. And I'm sure you recognize a lot of the models on the screen. Yeah. So now that's just the beginning, right? Once now we've created this, how do we take it across different countries, different moods, different occasions? Once you have a sonic identity, you can create various adaptations, be very flexible, so that you can connect with cultures. You can actually make it specific to occasions, make it relevant for certain moods, etc., etc. So now let's take a look at how the same notes of the melody were translated into different cultures, right? The Middle East. You feel you're on a camel and riding on the dunes. Yeah. So,
Definitely.
yeah. So just imagine the same melodic construct, but you change the instrumentation, you recreate it, and you've suddenly entered a different culture, right? But it's the same brand. Now let's take a look at Latin America. See, that's the beauty of music, right? Music, every culture has its sort of tonality and instrumentation. So you can just cue a culture and cue identification with that culture just by changing the instrument. So Latin America, it's all about the whole salsa and samba, etc., etc. So all of those were sort of brought in. Now, of course, let's listen to the sound of India. Now we also created for different moods and occasions. It's a big brand, so many thousands of pieces of creative coming out every day. So we created this master sort of template. If you had to create for different moods, for different occasions, how would you do it? So this was if it were for a playful mood. Now the next one is something you all will love, right? This was aimed at Gen Z and the younger generation. So for MasterCard Priceless Nights, for their parties, how would you create the sound of the party but using the same sonic identity? Here's an EDM word. Yeah, party time. Now, now let's have a listen to a very emotional situation, mother and child, or a romantic moment between your girlfriend and you, or girlfriend and a boyfriend at Valentine's Day, right? Very emotional, romantic. You can hear a bit of my flute there. Oops, sorry. Let me play. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So now this was very interesting. They sponsor the EPL and European League. So they wanted us to create an anthem for their fans, right? I'll play you the anthem, then I'll tell you what they did with it. Very interesting. And I'll tell you a little story about this anthem and how we actually created it. So here goes. Have a listen to the anthem first. You'll see how the MasterCard, Mogo, and the entire melody has been, translated into an anthemic vibe. So, what they did during these COVID times, the European League was happening last year and actually this year. And they actually took this anthem and they sent it to all their fans. And they said, just take a video shot of yourself doing a Mexican wave, okay, and send in your entries. And then they put in all the entries that came in into a giant digital Mexican wave. They edited it, right? So it seemed like fans were in the stadium and were actually like doing the Mexican wave, but to this track. So this is another point. Once you have a sonic identity, there are a lot of things you can do with it, right? You can create activation, you can create fan engagements, you can create so many things. And we'll show you a little more about it. Now, this was launched in February 2019 and at the Grammys in Los Angeles. And I was privileged to and honored to have been invited as a VIP for the Grammys. I actually attended the Grammys. The previous night before that, Camila Cabello, who is known as the Havana Girl, and I'm sure all of you all have heard the song Havana.
Yes.
So she had a concert of what is called a MasterCard Priceless concert, which is, and it was amazing. We were sitting right up in the front and there were thousands of screaming fans behind us. The sound level was crazy and they were all your age group, all right? We were really feeling very old there, but it was an amazing experience. She's a fantastic performer. And so what MasterCard has also done is they've roped in celebrities to promote their sonic identity. And this is Camila Cabello saying hi to all you guys.
Hey guys, it's Camila. I'm so excited to be a part of the MasterCard family. It was so fun creating my version of MasterCard's Sonic brand. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba. I'll see you guys at the Grammys. Thanks for having me.
Now, let's take a look at how the Mini Mogo translates across different systems, right? So on Alexa, voice-activated speaker systems.
Smart speaker. Order red acrylic paint.
Your order has been placed.
Or at restaurants. $57 million outlets. Imagine restaurants, supermarkets, anywhere where the card is tapped or used, the machine has the ability to play sound. There's tiny speakers sort of built in. 57 million outlets, again, probably 100 times a day, if not more. Now do the math. How many times the brand is being heard, right? So it's amazing the power and use of sonic identity, a Mini Mogo. Yeah. Okay. Now let's take a look at the New York subway and how they introduced it there.
From your commute to all your everyday purchases, tap with your MasterCard. Every day is a chance to start something priceless.
Yeah, so this is something you'll find very interesting. So we had this idea of, sonic watermarking. We call it year marking. Okay. Now, what MasterCard is going to do is they're going to launch an album called Priceless, where they are actually inviting young, talented indie musicians to create pop songs around their mogo, right? But there is no MasterCard branding, visual branding. There is only the sonic branding. Now, this is a song I'm going to play for you, which has gone to the top of the charts, very popular. It's becoming now. And this is how you will listen how subtly the mogo has been incorporated. Here goes.
I can see clearly, almost lost me nearly. He was such a mess, and I know we're broken. Now I get my token to my freedom again. I saw it.
So you see how the mogo has been beautifully weaved in without actually seeming like it's branding. And that is the future, right? Where branding is subconsciously built in and brands are not really calling attention to themselves. But over time, you will recognize and you will appreciate, you will love the song and you will say, okay, I appreciate the fact that you have brought it to us. Very subtle way of saying MasterCard presents all these priceless songs, right? So this is really the future. We are already in the future of sonic branding and where it's going to go. It's amazing the things that are opening up now with all the audio streaming platforms, whether it's Spotify, with Apple getting into spatial audio, with the 8D audio merging, immersive audio, Dolby Atmos, all of this technology coming in, AI and machine learning, starting to get introduced into the entire sonic branding space. For example, we are currently exploring how to use AI and machine learning to actually start going and picking up tunes. If we put in the avatar and rasa and actually pick up melodies and say, hey, this fits into this avatar, this fits into this. All that the AI and machine learning is doing. So it's a whole new world, and especially for y'all on the cusp of coming out into the market and getting into the design space or the music space or the brand strategy space. Well, there's a whole new area that you can sort of focus on, or there are opportunities, which is the area of sonic branding. So 2 years in a row, MasterCard has been named the best audio brand. They rose 77 places to dethrone McDonald's. McDonald's with Para-pa-pa-pa, I'm loving it, was the #1 audio brand. But MasterCard has been the best audio brand 2 years in a row. And that's, I think, amazing testimony to the power of sonic branding, as well as the commitment of MasterCard, because just creating something is not good enough. How you use it and how you actually promote it to the benefit of your brand is very important. And the folks at MasterCard have done that brilliantly. So that's really our presentation. Just to wrap up, let me tell you about BrandMusiq. We've been 10 years and we've had a fantastic journey. We've the first 2-3 years, 3-4 years were a bit of a struggle because we were establishing this whole new space of sonic branding, and it took a lot of education. As I always say, we had more meetings than business, so in the initial years. But today, very happy to say that we have worked on some iconic Indian brands, iconic global brands, and we are really now poised to go into the next stage of our growth. We call it BrandMusiq 2.0, and that's going to be fueled by technology, data, creativity, all of that. So this is a snapshot of some of the stuff we've done over the past 10 years. And for 10 years, we haven't had our own Mogo, but we felt it was time now because we were too busy creating Mogos for other brands. We said it's time we created our own Mogo. So we have our Mogo at the end of this video. Enjoy.
Wow.
Great.
Oh,
That brings me to the end of my presentation. I'm going to stop sharing and then I'd love to take any questions.
that was super cool.
Thank you.
Guys, come up with questions, whatever you have. This is the right time and the right opportunity to ask the master himself.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
So you told us about that MasterCard when it goes into that card machine and it makes that sound. So how exactly do you program? Like suppose I have made a jingle for or a mini Mogo for a Visa card, and now I'm going to put my Visa card. Now how do I make the machine know that it's a Visa card and this sound should play?
So I'm not a tech guy, but I can basically what it is the chip that is there in on your card, right?
Yeah.
It can be programmed to transmit sound also, so that the machine recognizes when the chip enters, the machine recognizes it is this particular chip and the sound gets triggered from the machine.
Okay.
I mean, that's the very fundamental explanation I can give you.
Okay. Got it.
So, I mean, imagine the guys who created these machines, they've been thinking so far ahead, yeah. I mean, you have to think of a future where it doesn't exist,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Can you share a few experiences of working for Zomato soundtrack? Like Zomato.
Yes, absolutely. So let me just see 1 second. I can just I've got a little video on that which will explain. You will hear the sound also. I think that's a better starting point. Let me just open that out 1 second. Yeah. Okay, so what we've also done is we've created a term we're calling BrandMusiq Sonic Nav. Okay, basically what it does is we map the customer journey with sonic design to enhance the customer experience, right? Very simply put. Now, let's take a look at what we did for Zomato. Now, this was a little case study we created to enter the ET Disruption Awards, and we won an award there for this. So take a look at it. You'll hear the sound also, and then I can take any questions on that. Oh God, I think there was a problem with the. Anyway, doesn't matter. You all heard it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So basically, what we did was we created the sound of Zomato based on their brand values, etc. Okay, we created the master sound. Now, while they are using it at the end of their ads on digital content as a traditional Mogo would be used, one of the things we recommended for them was this whole idea of sonic navigation. So what was our insight? Now, this was, of course, pre-days. So at the time, and it's true even today, that when you order off a Zomato app, you're in a meeting, say, okay? And the meeting's going on, it got extended, and suddenly you say, hey, what about lunch, guys? Can I quickly order some lunch? Okay. Now the meeting is continuing. It's a big meeting, right? And you've ordered now off your phone. What tends to happen is throughout that meeting, 15 minutes of your time, almost 30 minutes of your time, will go in you being distracted about where the rider is. Has he left the play? Has he left the restaurant? When is the food coming? The chairman is getting hungry. All this you're worried about all. So our insight was that, look, why don't we create a sonic navigation system derived from our Mogo and Mogoscape, where we create sounds and embed sounds in the app. When the rider leaves the restaurant or reaches the restaurant, you will hear zoom, right?
Yeah.
When the rider leaves the restaurant, you will hear zoom again. When the rider reaches your doorstep, you will hear ta-ra-ra-ra zoom, right? The whole Mogo will play. So zung is like the mini Mogo, and ta-ra-ra-ra zung is the Mogo. So it has happened now, and we are getting amazing feedback on this, that whoever uses the Zomato app and keeps your sound on, your notification alert sound on, you have now started getting used to, you're not looking at the app any longer. So you just keep the sound on low volume. You continue with your meeting, whatever you want to do. You hear the first zung, acha, rider has reached. You hear the second zung, oh, the rider is left. And ta-ra-ra-ra, food has arrived. You just go open the door. So many times it has happened. You open the door and the rider is standing there with his hand about to ring the doorbell. Before he rings the doorbell, you know the food. So imagine the convenience it's offering people who have started following this system, right? So that is the Zomato story, and therefore we saw the potential, and we said, let's launch an actual product we call Sonic Nav. Now, Sonic Nav every app can actually use this science of sonic navigation to help enhance the customer experience, right? Whether it's Amazon delivery. Again, you are always wondering. So imagine if you start getting prompts, alerts where you can actually visualize the journey of the rider and when that's going to arrive at you. Can you use voice prompts, etc. So that's the whole world. What about UI and UX design? How can we use sound properly, right? Without it being intrusive. If you're on a travel website, when you go to Greece, right? You're exploring Greece. Can the sounds of Greece play in the background, right? So this is the whole concept of navigation and creating sonic navigation and sonic experiences on different UI, UX, apps, websites, etc., etc. So that's the other space that we are exploring currently.
Wow. Guys, any more questions, students?
Sir, I have another question.
Yes.
So how do you approach these brands, or do these brands approach you? How do you convince them, like when you started off especially?
Yeah. So, I just go back to those days when we didn't have any work to show, right? So we would then actually create our entire deck around experiences like me playing the flute, the power of sound, and then taking global examples that, like Intel, for example.
Right.
Intel has the Intel Bong, right? Nokia. Right? Coke created the sound of Coke, 5 notes of Coke. Da, 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 right? So we used to take all those examples and try and convince in those days Indian clients that sonic branding was important. And then we had some very good, because one thing good was that all this gray hair helped. We had been in advertising for so many years. So all the market, the brand managers who had grown up when we were young, they had all reached, CEO, chairman, etc. positions. So it wasn't very difficult for us to get a meeting. The main thing is, how are you going to get a meeting, right?
Right.
So for us, because of our network and collective years of experience, etc., we were able to get meetings. Once you get meetings, everybody found it fascinating. And so the early movers, whether it's Vistara, all came from ex-clients of mine,
Oh, okay.
Mr. Prasad Menon was chairman of Vistara, and he was a client of mine when I was in Bates and in Clarion. And we worked on Tata Salt together, right? Desh Ka Namak is my campaign. I created the Desh Ka Namak campaign for Tata Salt. So all these contacts, we started getting meetings. Once we started getting meetings, we started getting a breakthrough, So I still remember the first big breakthrough was Vistara. And Mr. Prasad Menon was the chairman of Vistara, and he was actually bringing together Singapore Airlines and the entire Tata Vistara Indian team, right? So we went and had a coffee with him, and we shared what we are doing, and we said it's a new space, etc., etc. So he said, okay, I love this idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give you 15 minutes, right? At the Taj in town, Colaba, we are going to be having a all-day meeting between the folks at Singapore Airlines and at Tata Vistara, discussing the merger, discussing how we're going to launch the brand, etc. So there is a period when we are just before we break for lunch. I will give you 15 minutes. And after that, I invite you to stay for lunch, right? So you can just mingle with all and the top guys were there, the CEO, chairman, everybody, a team of about 20, 30 people. We had 15 minutes. And 15 minutes, I did my little flute routine, and that does great wonders in getting the power of sound across. And in 15 minutes, we got a standing ovation, and they invited us for lunch. And from there, it went very smoothly. Before we knew it, we had created the sound. So if you fly Vistara today, you'll hear the sound as boarding takeoff and boarding landing.
It's great, sir.
Great, sir. Yeah. So early days, yeah, I guess the thing is, have the conviction, have the belief. There will be ups and downs, but you just need to just keep going, because the belief is what keeps you going, right? Business sometimes doesn't actually sort of commensurate with the belief, but it's the belief. You just need to keep going with the belief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
There's a question.
Yeah.
So how do you imagine or think music or note for any product or brand?
Okay, so I explained the avatar and rasa theory, right? So we have actually created what we call templates, sonic templates, saying if it is this avatar rasa combination, then this is the kind of instruments we'd use, etc., etc. But otherwise, if you're, as we say, this is the science of branding and the art of music. At the end of it, it is the art of music, right? So we know that certain scales can make you feel happy, etc. Now, suppose you said, okay, I want to create a very happy kind of feeling. Then, and I'm just going to play now something that comes to my mind. So, happy, okay. Okay. Now, you might say, I want to create a nostalgic feeling, right? Then I could be going into this kind of zone. Right? Little sadness. I've lost my boyfriend. I've lost my girlfriend. That kind of feeling. So, how do you, has that answered your question? How do you get the notes? I think it's, at the end of it, it's working towards a brief, which you all will also come through in your life, where you get a brief to create a particular design or create something. But then after that, you need to forget the brief. You need to just get into the zone, but you need to forget the brief and you need to think from your heart and as a musician, right? So there's certain notes, melody. At the end of it, it's all about melody. Melody is very important. So if you get a beautiful melody, you can express that melody in many ways with different instruments. I don't know if that, I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
A few more questions. Sir, do you have internship programs or
any other questions? Anything?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have internship programs?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Of course, we're a small company, but I'm putting my email in the chat box, so you all can reach out to me. There you go.
Yeah, we'll take this last question. So do you use these templates to explain the MOGO to the clients?
Yes, absolutely. So, how do clients judge that the MOGO we've created is fitting their brand, right? So they always keep that avatar rasa template in their mind when they're evaluating the music also.
Okay.
So
okay.
that is key. And many brands have actually done market research before they approve it. Right? So they take it to consumers, they test it, and they use sometimes neuroscience and brain mapping. That we've actually, there is a way to test music, because visuals are tested differently. Like you're watching a TV commercial, that's tested differently. But listening to a piece of music, it's brain mapping, it's qualitative research. What did you feel? What kind of imagery did you see? Like I did that little thing with you all, right?
Okay.
So that gives us a framework in which the music can be evaluated, so that it's not just subjective. I like, I don't like. It's not that. It's what is right for the brand and what is not right for the brand.
Okay. How do you decide the scales of a mogo?
Yeah. So as we said, that once we know the zone of sound, is it happy? Is it sad? Is it adventurous? Is it thrilling? We instinctively as musicians, we know what will evoke that kind of feeling, right? So I'm saying, if I want to make you feel thrilling, how does a creative process start? It starts with some sort of inspiration. Okay. Now, if I am, say, dealing with a car brand, and the brand says that, look, I want to create that spirit of adventure and etc. So what is the inspiration that I seek? I seek the image that comes to my mind is all those amazing car commercials where wow, SUVs are going through mud and slush and that kind of thing. So then what comes to my mind is tempo, right? So I say, okay, so this sound, it's got to have that tempo, that energy, that excitement. So like a right? So that now I get that kind of inspiration, and maybe I pass on this inspiration to the music directors and say, hey man, this is like maybe we need rock guitar along with this. And now if there is a basic melody that came from that, so now this little inspiration I just sent. So then, okay, man, okay, then everybody gets an idea. Okay, this is the zone we are operating. This is how we can sort of create the sound of this particular brand.
Right, nice. Pratik, you have a question or?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
Go ahead.
Sir, I just wanted to ask, like, does it happen or has it ever happened with you, like, even after showing your templates to the client is like, no, this wasn't the thing we wanted, or like, so if you do you change your whole project or just some changes in that? What do you do? Like, only if this happens. I am so confused.
Okay, I get what you're saying. What you're saying is, you're talking of the avatar and rasa, right?
Yeah.
That time. Yeah. Now, I think the way we do it is every brand has its own way of defining itself, right? So it may not define itself according to the avatar and rasa that we are talking of.
Yeah.
So the only way we do it is what we impress upon clients is, look, this is not your definition of your brand. This definition of these templates help us to create your sonic identity, right?
Yeah.
So this framework is very important, because without this framework, we've all been in situations, having been in advertising, where we presented a piece of film and the client says, I love the film, but I don't like the music. And then you ask the client, but can you tell us why you don't like the music? And the client says, but boss, I'm not a musician. I can't tell you. I don't like it. That's all.
That's what I was asking.
Right. So now you say, I don't like it, but no, how do we improve it? Because we don't know what you are seeking. Correct. But when you go through this entire process of defining your avatar rasa, then defining, therefore, if it is this kind of avatar and rasa, therefore this kind of sounds will fit in. Getting the client to buy into that logic.
So then you convince your client that this is what you want. This is something.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
See, that is our conviction. That's our experience. That is 10 years of solid experience, you know.
Right.
Today, clients, no client argues with us on these basic things because they also see the value of it.
Yeah. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
I guess we don't have any more questions.
Wonderful.
So we can wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Rajeev, for taking us through the entire sonic branding process and the idea of how it's done and the approach, the basic the variations of the same melody that can be there, and it's like totally out of the world. Thank you so much for the entire workshop, and I'm sure our students got to learn a lot and understand a lot about the music for brands.
Great. All the best. Wish you guys all the best in your careers. And I've sent my email, so don't hesitate to reach out if you have any clarifications, questions about internship, etc. Sure.
Awesome. I'll just need a small bite from you, Rajeev. So once the students move out, we can record that. Students, you can start leaving the call.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sure. Thank you.